Hi there, you with Simon here at English Coach. And today we're talking a little bit about uncontrollable negative thinking. Through the duration of this video, you will see my eyes going down to look at the notes because the questions that I'm going to bring up today are so important. And sometimes what actually happens in my videos is I can forget the exact word that I've used in that question, which is actually key to memorizing for those of you who are watching right now and want to solve this problem of uncontrollable thinking. You really need that key vocabulary. So when you see my eyes go down, don't judge me for having a bad memory, okay? Because um, I will be reading from my notes, okay? Thank you for being here today. And without further ado, I would like to approach this subject, which is how can we how can we um, change uncontrollable negative thinking? Now, actually, I think the best way to put it is how do we substitute or replace negative thinking? Remembering that you can't stop something. The mind doesn't just stop and go blank. It continues thinking and imagining whatever it is supposed to or not supposed to think or imagine. So all we're doing here is we're substituting or replacing that negative thinking with something more practical, tangible, uh, realizable, all of the above. The first question that you need to ask yourself if you're in this position, feel a little bit hopeless, what what is the focus thought? What is the focus thought? What is the main thought that reappears and reappears and causes this anxiety in you? And generally, we identify that as not having control over any of the key aspects of our life. So that could be career, that could be family, that could be financial, could be anything. Okay, but you feel there's a lack of control there, so you've created a thought focus associated with this. Of course, the thought focus is more specific. You need to ask yourself right now, what is that thought focus? Number two is, what is the feeling that this thought focus gives you? What is the negative feeling that you are experiencing by thinking about that? you know and from the perspective of some of the people that I've asked so far, they tend to say that I feel like I'm marching toward an accident waiting to happen. I'm going to repeat that. I feel like I'm marching toward an accident waiting to happen. So this causes us to be a little neurotic. This causes us to lose our patience. This causes us to take extreme measures in situations that don't require extreme measures. Okay. So think about how dangerous that feeling can be. Okay. Number three, what is the question to find a replacement thought? Or how do we get this replacement thought that we can block out the neurotic and anxiety creating thought with something more productive, something more inspirational, perhaps? The first thing is what the first question to ask is, what is working in your life? What is working in your life? We have many aspects of our life, like I said before: career, family, finance, and the list goes on. There's like eight main subjects and another four or five sub subjects for each one. So, yeah, you can certainly look at every part of your life that's actually in motion and doing the things that you want it to do. And of those things, which things do you have the most control? So, looking at what is working and what do you have most control over. Then there's a final third question for this part, which is even more important, which is, am I underestimating aspects inside these questions that are actually working? Am I underestimating those things that are working, that I have control over? Am I blinding myself to the control, or am I blinding myself to my contribution or my power in those things to focus on something that I have no power over? So, really important question. Okay, so then we go to number 4, creating the replacement thought itself. How do we create the replacement thought itself after we have perhaps taken 3 or 4 items from number 3, 3 or 4 little ideas about things you do control, things that are working, and use the following affirmation: I choose to focus on, and then if you're writing this down, which is a good idea, I choose to focus on dot dot dot, and then 1 idea or 2 ideas, 3 ideas, depending on how many focuses you would like to give yourself. I think it's always good to start with 1, not 3, but you be the judge of that. We live in a time when we have thousands of different focuses. Our attention is very um, split, is very divided. So use your example in number 3, like I said, finding that replacement thought, and then creating the replacement thought here. Choose what you choose to focus on in those things that you do control. Okay. The last question, most important question here, is what am I doing to improve the things that I do control? So you've got your little list of the things you do control. You've got your list of things you don't control, maybe. You're ripping up the things that you don't control, or you're putting them aside for now, maybe not ripping up the list, but putting it aside. And then looking at the things that you do control, and then making a concerted effort to brainstorm and write down ideas. Get your pen, get your notepad, and actually physically write down the things you can do today, this week, to improve the things that are working, to improve the things that you do have control over. Okay. I have no control over having a son or a daughter this year. It's completely in the hands of the fertility, how well the fertility goes. Okay. So I cannot be God in this case. But in terms of my business, in terms of how many people I can get in touch with, in terms of how many times I work out a week when I go to the gym, I control that. In terms of how much money I save and put into my big investor that's generating more uh, positive income than some other investments, that's down to me. That's something I control, you know. Of course, the economy can interrupt that, but then I will make a decision based on what is new and what is a better option than that. Okay, so that's my video today. It's not going to solve your problem indefinitely. You will still have neurotic negative thinking, but every time you do have neurotic negative thinking or uncontrollable negative thinking, use this method to replace or substitute those negative thoughts about things you can't control, and refocus and recreate thoughts about things that you can control. What are you going to do? Create the brainstorm, create an important idea that could take 2 or 3 days to execute on, but it's exciting and it could lead to something good. Anyway, that's all from me. If this was important for you to hear, if this was useful for you to hear, like, subscribe, and send a little comment down below. If you don't have time, simply just like and subscribe, or just like, and I'll see you on the next video here with Simon at English Coach. See you then.